I hereby call the Tuesday, April 8th, 2025 Arcata Fire District regular meeting to order. Please stand and join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the board clerk please call the roll?
Director Laudenslager,
Here.
Director Mendoza,
Here.
Director Maynard,
Here.
President Kana, and Vice President Johnson are absent.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Acting President Laudenslager, just to amend the agenda, we should postpone the closed session until a later date.
Thank you.
I move that we approve the agenda with the caveat of the closed session will not be taking place tonight.
Is there a second?
I'll second. That's right. There's one.
Director Laudenslager,
Is there any discussion or comments from the board?
No.
Take the roll, please.
Director Laudenslager,
Yes.
Director Mendoza,
Yes.
Director Maynard,
Yes.
motion carried.
Public comment and association reports. Any person may address the district board on any subject pertaining to district business which is not listed on the agenda. This comment is provided by the Ralph M. Brown Open Meeting Act and may be limited to 3 minutes for any person addressing the board. Any request that requires board action may be set by the board for a future agenda or referred to staff. And first, we will have reports from the Local 4981 and from the Arcata Volunteer Firefighters Association. So,
All right. Good evening. Good evening. Yeah, this monthly report will serve as an overview of activities, announcements, and special notifications that directly involve or are reasonable, relevant to the local. Please ask any questions necessary and hope I can provide clarification. Not too much going on. We have our first one is local members participated in joint training with CAL FIRE. The training consisted of forcible entry, residential fire attack, search and rescue, and search and rescue victims from a fire. Training opportunities like these are valuable for interagency coordination and on higher acuity calls. Next is local members participated in a readathon for Pacific Union School. Local members visit several classes throughout the school and read to the students. Oftentimes, it will turn into a Q&A event for the older students and a show and tell for the younger ones. This event is always a lot of fun and has become an annual tradition. And then this last one, on March 30th, members Alex Manusos and Chris Appleton were dispatched to a fire alarm sounding at the Grove in the Valley West area. The Grove is a 2-story motel that has been repurposed as a gated apartment complex. When they arrived at scene, they found an apartment filled with smoke and a sprinkler flowing. Captain Manusos upgraded the response to a commercial fire response to get more resources. The team of 2 made entry into the building and rescued a trapped and altered victim that was lying in the bathtub of the apartment. This is a huge effort for 2 firefighters to pull off. The NFPA recommends a minimum of 15 firefighters respond and work on a fire incident of this type of structure. We would like to publicly commend them for their efforts and announce to our communities that when you are in your time of need, we will be there for you. I respectfully submit it to Marcus.
Thanks, Nate.
That's it, guys. Thank you.
AVFA?
Thank you for the time. You guys have this in your packet as well. It'll be real quick. Basically, the volunteers, in March, we conducted CPR training. We actually, the vehicle training for the month was CPA, refilling the bottles and practicing installing them in on scene, helping the firefighter replace his bottles on scene, making sure we do it correctly. We're actually doing some grant writing and some public supports, public information support for the district as well. We've been responding, the VLU's been responding to a lot of calls. The problem is the firefighter's been too efficient. I made it to Sunbury once and made it to a couple of, you guys are doing a great job. We just can't get there in time before they, cancel. There's only one CPR class in March. So they're a little thin for the winter. For grant activities, Central Coast, application for 4 thermal imagers is pending mid-April. We got a grant in for Green Diamond for nozzles, about $5,000. We're asking for a gift card from Target to resupply the basically the things we put in the 8209 now, sorry. And other various grants, the training equipment, CPR mannequins, that wheel that they talked about last, the litter wheel, we had one big wheel, the roll-out for the wilderness. We're looking for a grant for that. It's called a litter wheel for remote emergency rescues, and Mad River Station remodeling plan. So there's some plans being developed for that. The Simpson Family Fund portal should be opening soon, so we'll be talking to them. And the other district, I guess there's $125,000 for a new compressor that we put in as well. We've been working on developing a project plan, the association has, to support Firewise in the community. Look for ways to advertise and promote the Firewise program, where you actually get a bunch of about 8 to 1,000 homes together, and they basically work around there to make their home safe around the residents and stuff like that. I'm working with John Evenson and I'm working with the county to basically put together a way we can actually promote that as an association, go out with the community. One of the benefits of the placard project was I have 350 phone numbers, emails, and personal contacts from the placard project. So I've already gotten phone calls from those people looking for more things. Plan celebration for 2025. I guess the award ceremony's been scheduled. We've invited the Berg Foundation. We have some gifts we're going to give to the Berg Foundation if they can make it to the award ceremony this month. We basically took some old helmets, fire helmets, and we have a placard with their names on it and stuff like that. So for them as gifts for recognizing them. We're also working on with Neil Butler to try to do the Crabs game barbecue, help support that. And again, we're going to do the end of the year dinner celebration again like we did last Monday. Okay.
I have some questions.
Please.
The remodel, how far along, what is, can you give me just a little?
That's for looking for money to pay for buying the plan. I got
Basically, it's just elevations and a traffic plan around, so we can come up with a good plan to start moving forward with additional planning.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
And then with the, it's Firewise, is that the?
Yeah.
Okay, do you guys do that with CAL FIRE?
It's basically through the county and it's funded through CAL FIRE.
Okay. Because they've shown up in our neighborhood,
Right.
with the same type of program.
About your neighborhood, your street should be a Firewise community.
And like I said, CAL FIRE does have, they walk around like Mormons and go from door to door.
But I mean, that's what we're gonna try to do.
Okay.
We're gonna support, we're gonna have a program to basically promote Firewise. In fact, the plan right now has me doing one for Jacoby Creek Road, has Dave White do one for Pickle Hill, and it has Rod Cannon doing one for Warren Creek or what he that's out there. So we're going to do some demonstration projects. We learn how to do it, and then we're going to go advertise and get those contacts going. Small little communities like your street.
Yeah.
Again, your road would be perfect for a fire.
And the east side of Dallas Prairie, just
Yeah.
in particular, all that east side of Dallas.
Minimum 8 homes, maximum 2,500 homes.
Yeah.
That would be a project.
Yeah.
All
Okay,
right.
thank you. Rick.
Yeah.
Is there any member of the public that would like to make a comment at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent calendar. Consent calendar items are considered routine and are acted upon by the board with a single action. Members of the audience wishing to provide public input may request that the board remove the item from the consent calendar. Comments may be limited to 3 minutes. Is there any board or public member that would like a specific item removed from the consent calendar?
I just have one question. Why is are we supposed to publicly read the proposed ordinance? Why is that in the consent? We don't have to do
Second
anything.
reading, we don't have to.
Okay, all right.
It can be done through consent.
Okay. Nothing for me.
If there are no more comments, I will entertain a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar.
I'll move to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Director Lavensberger,
Yes.
Director Mendoza,
Yes.
Director Maynard,
Yes.
motion carries.
District business.
Page 59.
There. Thank you. District business item number 1, consider approval of the fiscal year 2024-2025 mid-year amended budget. We have a staff report.
Sure. Mid-year, excuse me, the mid-year budget update allows staff to evaluate the fiscal year to date, budget versus actual performance and to update fiscal year projections based on previously unavailable information. Staff met with the board's ad hoc committee, which was comprised of, Director Loudon-Slager and Vice President Johnson, to review the projected revenues and evaluate the current level of expenses. The attached draft of the 24-25 mid-year amended budget, if approved, would modify the district's currently approved budget that the Board of Directors adopted in September of 2024. What follows is a summary of the proposed budgetary adjustments at mid-year. The revenue changes are based on the fact that the county has collected 50% of the tax revenues, and the updated revenue projections can be made from these figures. So based on our revenue adjustment, some of the things that the highlights of it are the tax revenue increased by 34,000 based on the teeter apportion rate. And the highlighted line items, our use of money decreased by $55,000. Our intergovernmental increased by an increase of 5,000 due to out-of-county deployments and preposition. Charges for services decreased by 22,000. Miscellaneous revenues increased by 20,000 to reflect the sale of surplus equipment, donations, and refunds. Through our expenditures, our adjustments are in all the numbers you'll see there, the 50-10, 50-20, and 50-30 are line item groupings for us. Salaries increased by 12% to cover all the positions filled, including the succession plan positions, which were the overlap of fire chiefs, assistant chiefs, business manager, and actually filling out, completing our hiring as far as the 2 additional engineers where we had vacancies. Retirement increased by 13% to cover the update to projected costs. Group insurance decreased by 205,000 and 205,500, and that was based on the updated numbers that were projected based on mid-year actual expenses. Budget savings would be added to the salaries and wages. Workers' compensation was a 49% increase, and that's a pass-through by the county. So what we see from that is basically what the county tells us our bill is. Maintenance equipment, it decreased by 45,000, and we transferred money to the workers' compensation to cover that increase. And then professional and special services decreased by 50,000, and that would be transferred to the retirement increases. Transportation travel decreased by 50,000, and that would be also transferred to retirement. and minor equipment decreased by 60,000. That would also go to salaries and wages. Capital expenses, $50,000 decrease and transfer to the salaries and wages. So for us, the primary focus was paying on was salaries and wages and the workers' comp expenses. So staff recommends that the board review the mid-year adjustments, take public comments, and discuss and approve the fiscal year 24-25 mid-year amended budget. What I would add at this point is we're sitting on the plus side, so we're doing okay, not by a lot, but we are on the plus side, which is good. I mean, obviously, we'd much rather be in that side of it than the other side.
And the plus is the 8693,
The plus is,
or below budget, I guess.
no, our plus would be 140,000.
Okay.
Any questions from the other board members? So just to reiterate what it was in the chief's report, that Director Johnson and I had a meeting with the chief and the two assistant chiefs, and they went through all the budget items and explained it to us and identified where shortfalls in revenues and increases in costs were, where they moved monies around to account for all of it, and we were both comfortable with the explanations they gave us. So I'm comfortable with this.
Good. Sounds good.
And we need a motion and approval of the mid-year budget.
Since you were the one that looked at it the closest, would you like to make the motion?
Sure.
I thought we need to ask the audience.
Oh,
Is there a question?
does anyone in the public have comments or questions about our budget? Seeing none. Move that we approve the final fiscal year 24-25 mid-year amended budget.
I'll second.
Director Glavenslinger,
Yes.
Director Mendoza.
Yes.
Director Maynard,
Yes.
motion carried.
District business item number 2. Consider and authorize a request for proposal for audit services. And can we have a staff report?
Yes. So the district is required by state law to provide an annual audit of its financial statements by a certified public accountant in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards. California Government Code Section 53891 was amended and now requires the financial transactions of each local agency to be submitted to the state controller's office within 7 months after the close of the fiscal year. In 2017, the district awarded JJA CPA Incorporated a 3-year contract with a 2-year option to extend. Concluding with the completion and approval of the district's fiscal year end 2021 audit. In March of 21, the district sent out an RFP to various firms throughout California to solicit audit services for a 3-year contract with a 2-year option to extend. JJA CPA was the only responsive bid, and the contract was awarded. The current contract did not include a 2-year extension. Given the limited proposals received from the last process, staff believes that the district should start the process to solicit bids early in an attempt to garner more bids. Staff again recommends that the district use a 3-year contract with the option to extend, outlining the scope of work to be completed. By using a multi-year contract, the district will be able to forecast financial costs more accurately, and with a set scope of work, the district will be able to plan the next year's finances in a timely fashion. Staff is also requesting approval to issue the draft RFP, which is attachment number 1, for audit services immediately. Staff are also requesting that the budget committee to review incoming proposals with staff. The alternative to the budget committee would be to have management staff review the proposals and present a recommendation to the board for a final decision. Staff's recommendation, or staff recommends that the board consider the information provided, take public comment, discuss, and authorize an RFP, request for proposal for a multi-year contract for audit services, and that the budget committee review incoming proposals.
Questions from the board?
Yes, so Joe Arch, his company is a great company. They've literally, I came on the board in 2017 and he's been the auditor since I've been here.
Right.
And I understand the auditor that was just, that we had before then, I think our attorney had to send her a letter to threaten to sue her before she would finish her work because it was really bad. So I understand it's really hard to find auditors. But given that, you know, for a public agency, it is good to change, just for the reason to change. Yeah, I support this. I think it's good to get out front. I trust Joe Arch, but it really is good for public, you know, for transparency to have a different auditor, if we could find that meets the standards. So I don't know if other agencies, other special districts, are they all using Joe?
Well, the closest one that I know, I don't know the answer to that. I know our neighboring agency across the bay uses somebody else, and I can certainly do some research through them and find out how things have worked for them. But I absolutely agree. It's one of those things that good practices or best practices is to find another person or company to use.
Or person within the company. I remember we had talked about that
Yeah,
At a
you may be
previous-
right on that.
at a previous meeting about, you know, just if they have additional staff that can do it.
Right. Either way, I think it's best to get out in front of it and see what comes back.
Do you have a list?
No, but I'm sure there's a place I can find one.
I'm just wondering how many, if you probably don't have that information, how many people went out to the last time?
I don't know. I do know in discussions that I had with the previous administration, they went out to several, only got the one back.
But if we know one's coming to another agency in the county,
Right.
maybe they can make another stop, because sometimes it didn't, I don't think Joe even he didn't even come on site this year, did he?
No,
They involved in
everything, because I was involved with some of it, or I was involved with all of it. We did a lot of Teams and Zoom, and sharing electronically of files and things.
Ryan, do you have any other
No,
comments?
that's it for me, thank you.
So the only comment I have is, I would recommend and advise that on with having the staff review the proposals that, that the finance subcommittee review the proposals as well, just to, help the staff, so when the staff comes forward with a recommendation that some of the board members have been briefed and looked at them and understand why the decision was made.
Sure.
Are there any comments from the public?
Got a motion?
Yes, we need a motion to authorize the chief to move forward with a request for proposals for a multi-year contract for auditing services.
I move that we authorize the fire chief to put out the request for proposal for a multi-year contract for audit services, and that the budget committee review the incoming proposals.
Second?
Director Lavensberger,
Yes,
Director Mendoza,
Yes.
Director Mueller,
Yes.
motion carries.
correspondence and communications. Don't see any public communications to report to you. Committee reports. There, anything, the budget committee has already sort of reported. We met with the chief and the assistant chiefs and reviewed the mid-year budget and understood the recommendations they made, and that came forward today. Chief's monthly report. Can we please have the chief's monthly report?
Sure. Okay, so the month of March, I'll go ahead and give a brief update regarding the standards of cover. While I was at the Fire Districts Association of California, I met with AP Triton representative, that actually was their lead that was down there, and said, we need our report. And he, while I was down there, actually got the corrections to the financial portion of it was the finance section, if I remember right, yeah. So they changed that. We have a meeting tomorrow with them, and per what the representative said, he said there shouldn't be any other changes coming to it at this point, from our standpoint. Now, the city and Cal Poly obviously may have something else to say, but where we're at, we don't see any need for additional changes to it. So, as I said before, I don't want to venture a guess on when it's gonna be there, but he assured me we're almost there.
Are they gonna give us a discount?
So I did have that discussion with the city, and they had some concerns about how long it's taken to get it as well. So that's a discussion. We want to get the thing done, and said we would have a discussion with them. They were on board with having that, discussion with us.
The city or the Triton?
City also had the same perspective that this is taking.
So are we hoping for next month?
I'm hoping for, well, what are we at today, the 8th? I'm hoping by the end of this month.
For Christmas?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Are we going to be able to see it before they make a public presentation?
My plan is when the draft comes out is to at least get it to the two members of the, what we call the government, relations ad hoc committee. So at least, otherwise we start running into Brown Act issues if everybody's commenting on it before it's done. So that was also part of the discussion I had with the city, is that, you know, before this goes to the council, goes to Cal Poly and goes to the entire board, I would like to have our ad hoc committee be able to look at it, have thoughts, comments on it.
I wonder if it would, I mean, I haven't seen it, so I don't know the context, but I just wonder if there would be a context that would make it beneficial if we had a study session for that. So, you know, other than a 15-minute agenda item during a regular meeting, if we have a special meeting with a study session and maybe invite the city council and Cal Poly to whoever wants to come, and then we have a public discussion on that.
Yeah, possibly.
Item. I mean, I don't
I
know
think
what,
that would be appropriate and helpful.
I think the initial discussions we had, or even recently, the discussions we had with AP Triton was that they would like to get everybody in the same room. I don't know how difficult that would be as far as scheduling and such, but, I think that's what their intent is as well. At a minimum, they said they would like to do back-to-back, either, you know, board and council, or a joint session somehow. At least that's, take it for what it's worth, that's what they said.
I mean, do you have a sense as to how long a presentation it would be to do it correctly?
Hour and a half, maybe? I mean, we've all read it, maybe an hour and a half to 2
I would
hours.
assume that it'd be probably a 2-hour special meeting just in the presentation in itself.
Yeah, there's no way that the city council will give you that time, or even, that needs to be a special meeting for
Sure.
that long.
Yeah, yeah. I
Good,
agree.
well, that sounds encouraging.
Yeah,
I would encourage us to, and encourage you to try to arrange a special study session that the city council and the fire district board were at.
yeah,
I mean, when this comes out and we have a conversation, I would like to have them in the room with us, when we talk about what's likely needed. dealing with development impact fees and other financing arrangements and stuff like that. I would hate to have a presentation here and our discussion of it, and then they have a separate discussion where they go, that's the fire district's responsibility. This all looks great. Tell them to implement it. And
Well, I think after tomorrow's meeting with AP Triton, and I hope the city's on board or on the same meeting with us, that it's a team's meeting. I hope that, well, I know I'm gonna reach out to City Manager Perry about it anyway, and just, say, hey, here's where we wanna go with this.
I know they're tight, but it would be, for time, space, but if it's available, it would be nice to have the council chambers because it could be televised.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I would certainly mention that to them when I have that discussion, but, I mean, we know it's coming, they know it's coming, we know it's coming.
I mean, one thing it could be is, if they, like on a Wednesday, if they meet twice a month, if we met like at 4 o'clock on a Wednesday, before their council meeting, then all their council members would be there, for instance.
Sure.
And then we could, they could just, go into their regular meeting. I think it's at 6 now.
And that would be open to the public, or that would be,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, okay.
Open to the public, but
So that would eliminate the need for like a public workshop.
no, it'd still be,
Separate.
it would be a separate, it would be a study session workshop. There would be no action taken. It would be basically to, public information to show, for them to do the presentation. And then, of course, the respective entities would go back and if there's a need for agenda items, for future agenda items, then that would come back to for future agenda.
And correct me if I'm wrong, that would still allow for public comment during.
Yes, yeah, just no action.
Right.
Action isn't taken during these study sessions.
they had several of those for the gateway and stuff like that. They had study sessions that were the city council and the planning commission.
Okay.
But with that many politicians in the room, 2 hours probably isn't enough, but
Might need a bigger venue.
Well, giving the public an opportunity to hear it and having both our board and the city council in the same room, discussing our different viewpoints on our shared responsibility and what we expect from the city in terms of assisting with getting revenues and stuff like that is critical. I mean, I think they need to hear from the entire board and have that be in person.
Yeah, and I agree with that because we're coming from different perspectives. One thing, and I'll report on the FDAC conference, but cities and counties have a different perspective than where we're coming from on funding sources and such, because they think it's an impact to them versus an impact to us. So
well, they need to learn that special districts don't have sales tax.
exactly, that's the whole point.
That's the big deal. A lot of them still think that. That's a misnomer that we spent a lot of time correcting people. They just assume that we have other revenue sources. So that's something that we have to.
Well, certain of the impact fees and stuff like that, we can't put those in place.
Correct.
We require the county and the city to do those. So if they want to build tall buildings and they want us to defend them, they need to get involved in figuring out where the revenues are going to come to enhance the support that we provide.
Short answer is more to come.
Excuse me. What part of the university is going to be part of this?
That was my question.
So that's a good question. My initial contact has been out of the country and not available. However, I did receive an email from another representative from Cal Poly regarding another topic. And initially, he was part of the initial formation of the group committee. So I'm assuming, it's an assumption on my part, that he will probably be representing it until that other individual comes back, or maybe both of them will be on it.
The reason why I'm asking is because the university is looking for a new president.
Correct.
Okay, even though the one who's here is pretty popular, but he's only here on a temporary basis.
Yeah.
And they're trying to recruit him, but I don't know what's gonna happen to that. Nobody knows what's gonna happen to that. And then knowing how influential not only the president, but the administration, the people that you don't really hear from, but then who exert really strong influences. That's why I asked the question, because if you have a good relationship with one person,
One person
it's pretty volatile, so all volatile situation.
The one person I've had a good working relationship with is currently out of the country on assignment, and I don't know for what time frame. The other one that I mentioned, is also a acting vice president in his role currently. And he's, you know, we had a communication yesterday, and it's relative to their facilities and buildings.
Cross my fingers for you.
Yeah,
I think, just to add on it, really, this has been going on for so long, the time is of the essence, and I think that we need to hold this. This needs to be aired to the community, so, I think that I feel like it's our responsibility to make it happen, and if the university, I'm sure the city will send some people, but if the university has a record of canceling and not showing up, I really feel like that would be, damaging if we continue to put this off, if they don't have, if they're not able to participate. I'd like to invite them, I'd love to have them attend, but if they can't commit, then I think we need to proceed.
I would also suggest that representatives from the senator's office and assembly person's office be invited to listen in or provide perspective from the legislature or whatever, as we're having a discussion with the city council.
Then we'll need an additional couple more hours. We'll have lunch, this will be a lunch meeting now.
Lunch or dinner?
Yes, firefighter barbecue.
want me to move on, or?
Yes, do.
Just to report that Measure Z committee for the county Measure Z, is seeking reductions to the Humboldt County Fire Agency's requests. Fire agency requests were lowered to the third level of priority. Rick Nicholson, who is the fire chief of Ferndale and is the president of the Fire Chiefs Association, did an excellent job explaining how the fire chiefs function as far as 42 agencies. You know, everybody else is a single agency putting in their Measure Z applications for funding. There was discussion because the county fire chiefs asking for such a large portion, or not a large portion, it's the largest portion. However, that's split up amongst 42 different agencies. And that's the cleanest way for the Chiefs Association to take care of all 42 agencies within the county. So, that being said, it's frustrating to have the fire chiefs ranking lowered to third at this point. I don't know how many more meetings there are to advocate for our, the fire chiefs cut. I'm sure there's more, and then it finally goes to the board of Suits. So that's where we're at right now, kind of in a holding pattern on that, and that was kind of disheartening. I attended the Fire Districts Association of California conference last week. Again, it was an amazing conference, very educational for me. We covered all kinds of alternative funding, various things such as policy and laws, and got my ethics cert punched again for the next 2 years. There were several different things that we covered in that, and it was a full week of information. And I highly recommend that if we can get board members and additional staff to it, they do it every year. It alternates between 2 locations, but it'll be April next year as well. If any of the board members, we can get you down there. Director Loud Slayer went last year, right? Yeah. And very valuable for us. made some contacts, and, I'll be tapping into their information as well. We had meetings with our financial advisor through Cal Muni, and he needed additional information. He's working diligently on our long-term financial plan. We talked about the fire hazard severity zone maps. That was actually one of the topics at the Fire Districts Association. And the state fire marshal happened to be there and discussed it. It's everything we've already done already. The Madiver Station had an upgrade to the bedroom portion, and it's to provide more privacy for the personnel since we have a mixed workforce. And the work was done by suppression staff, so they took it upon themselves to do the work. As I believe Roy mentioned it earlier, we're gonna have the annual award ceremony at the Arcata Veterans Building, April 25th. Is that? Yeah, April 25th from 3 to 5 p.m. Hope you all can make it. Recognize all the good work our folks do, and then also some of the community agencies and entities that help us out with funding, recognize them as well. Notable training, we mentioned, I think, Captain Padula mentioned earlier that CAL FIRE's been added to the they've been added to the automatic aid agreement. They've been training with our personnel. That's been going well. Our new fire engineers are working through their probationary task books, and our new fire engineers attended a required hazardous materials course. Some of the notable incidents we've had, we had vehicle fire up on Clam Beach, exterior fire in a multifamily apartment complex in Arcata. It was possibly caused by smoking materials. Structure fire at Van Maitre. I always get it wrong. Up at Cal Poly, it was caused by an overheated compressor on the roof, wasn't it? And did minor damage to the building. We had a cooking fire in Arcata contained to the oven with no extension. Single damage sprinkler head flooded an apartment with water and leaked into a neighboring apartment in Arcata. The engine crew assisted with shutting off the sprinkler system and removing water. I believe Assistant Chief McDonald had the RV fire, right, over on West End Road. An occupant was napping at the time of the fire and was awakened to the sound of the smoke alarm in the RV and allowed them to get out. We went mutual aid to Humboldt Bay Fire. There was a commercial, I had this one, I went to a commercial fire on 5th Street. When the call came in, I knew exactly what the business was because of my past time there. I used to get hamburgers there a lot. Fortunately, the crews at Humboldt Bay Fire were really quick and made a heck of a stop on that incident. So I want to publicly commend them because had they not, knowing that building, it would have run the length of that block had they not gotten in there when we did. So it's got a common attic and a common basement area, and they did a heck of a job. We had mutual aid resources from multiple North Bay agencies as well as ladder truck from Fortuna came to that one. So it's an example of what could have been, and the system worked on that one as far as getting all the resources. Fire on the Arcata Plaza, fire was in a trash can in an 8217 out of here, extinguished it, and a small fire inside a room at the Grove that Captain Padula mentioned earlier. It was dispatched with a fire alarm, which shows the importance of having fire alarms. And an A2 arrived to find that the sprinkler system had controlled the fire in the room. As far as our incidents, you can see we had 12 fires, 167 medical. We're on track for 4,000 this year, right?
Just under.
Just under 4,000. So we're, as of right now, if it holds true, it'll be the busiest year we've ever had, call volume. We have updated how we're tracking incidents, specific to Cal Poly and how it affects us, specifically what we have on campus, and then what we run on calls, identifying whether they're associated with the university. So, that was one of the things that was identified with us, that we need to know how campus or students and staff affect our, call volume. So it's called a special question, right?
When you say associated, what do you mean by that?
Like if they're students, but they're off campus. For instance, if we come down to the plaza and it's a lag in the sense of, are you a student at Cal Poly? And they check the box, but that's data we can pull out.
The engine company had a call out at Madiver Beach, and in discussion, the patient said that they were a student at Cal Poly, so they wouldn't be here without the the college being here, so we're tracking that information and, I think for the year, we're roughly 20 calls at the college already. And then associated with the college is another 10 calls already, so it's about, 1/3, 2/3 split on campus versus off campus, so.
Yeah, so instead of those 3% and 4% and 5% months, you're probably gonna see more like 8%, 9%, 10% call volume. So we're trying to get a more of an accurate representation about what the impact is from the county.
Makes sense, because I know the university wants to know if their students are involved in incidents in the city, so that,
Yeah.
they've been statting that for as long as I can remember.
Law enforcement's been great about tracking it. Fire service, not so much, but we're trying to get that data out of it.
Makes sense.
Let's see, City of Arcata, 52% of our call volume last month, and the Killenville area was 37%, with, you can see kind of even dispersal between the Arcata Bottoms area and Bayside area and Fickle Hill areas. Cal Poly was about 1% with 3 incidents for last month. We're still, as usual, we're doing really good, not to sound flippant about it, but our folks are really good about having a good average response time. Last month was 3 minutes, 49 seconds. And you can see the break to date for calls as far as 31 fires to date. And the difference was 3 less this year from last year on fires. However, where we're making up for it is through the EMS calls. Apparatus, Ross has done a good job getting us back in shape for most of our apparatus and getting that deferred maintenance that's been hindering us. We've got our new engine back, and I believe you had a kind of a timeline from our new engine that's going to be built, correct?
Yes, we should be having, pre-build in September and projected to be completed April of 26.
That's the one that Humboldt Area Foundation and the Orville May Emerson funded for us. So that was good to hear, because we hadn't heard anything. Now we're actually getting timelines on that.
Would you mind sending me an email, because I want to get a hold of Edie Basay and let her know, because she really worked that hard, and she'll
Yeah.
appreciate knowing that, and then.
Absolutely.
So that'll be 2 years or more than 2 years from the time.
26.
Yeah, so it'll be next,
2.5 years total time since we've ordered.
yeah.
Okay,
next-
I'm just,
And that's actually what they're saying is sooner than what they had projected, because they said 29 months. Yeah, so that was promising to hear that.
They can get the part.
Yeah. Well, that was a question that was actually posed regarding tariffs and such, how that's gonna impact us. And I think it's to be seen, but I'm sure there's issues there.
Did they have any answers? You asked them?
No, we didn't ask.
Oh,
them.
okay,
That
all
was
right.
Someone asked me that question.
Okay.
Yeah, well, we haven't seen, it shouldn't affect our current purchase, but when it comes to parts for our other apparatus. So our Pierce engine, the door system was repaired. That was kind of a nuisance issue that just would not go away. Our radio system has been improved, and we've received the mobile repeaters, but they're not installed yet, correct?
The mobile repeaters for the engines are here. They were supposed to be installed last week, but they're having programming issues,
Yeah.
so. But that should help with the crews on the ground as far as getting out to the repeaters now.
Yeah, our Sunnybrae and Jacoby Creek areas, and even parts of McKinleyville were really difficult as far as radio communication. And mobile repeaters should help relieve some of that issue.
So they're on the engines, so the portables will be repeated through the
Correct.
engine.
Yeah, there is a training curve to it, because it's not just a matter of push to talk, you have to switch some things when you're on scene and stuff like that. Yeah, it's not as simple as just pushing a button.
It's not a mesh.
Huh?
It's not mesh internet.
Right,
Okay.
yeah. Community risk reduction outreach, I did mention the readathon. We had the county-wide tsunami awareness and discuss our procedures during the alert test. And you can see our most popular social media posts that we've got out there, and Our fire marshal's office, he's been busy. It's coming down to the end of the year for him, so he and the inspector, so they're coming down to the end of the fiscal year for them, not the end of the year, but, he works off of the fiscal year because he's retired. So, he's been pushing hard through that. That's where we're at with him. Which one is it? Oh, yeah, I missed that one. So our public safety Sunday, so this coming Sunday, right?
Yes.
We will be participating at McMinnville High School for a public safety event with multiple public safety agencies from 12 PM to 3 PM. It is rain or shine, correct?
If it rains, it's canceled.
Okay, if it rains, but right now the forecast is looking good, but they're hoping for it to be a pretty big event
That's Sunday, the 13th.
this coming Sunday, yeah.
Don't have,
What time?
Noon to 3 PM, and we will be there with our engine, and VLU will also be there, VLU will be there helping to set up as well as participate.
there should be a CAL FIRE helicopter, Coast Guard helicopter, and a Reach helicopter there as well.
God, I was trying to steal their thunder from our open house.
Be happy to have a helicopter if you'd like to.
Well, see if we can talk to the board about that.
Yeah, put it in the budget, we'll see.
So, yeah,
Lay all the firefighters off.
that, pretty much concludes my chief's report.
Directors matters. Any comments or anything from Director Maynard?
Yeah, I'll start. Can we talk about this, should we talk about this, letter, the response letter that we got from Humboldt?
We can,
It needs to be agenda.
it really should be agendized as part of the communications. And the reason it wasn't in this is because it came after the agenda went out.
Okay.
But, it absolutely will be in there next month, and I think it should be agendized for discussion.
Okay, that's great.
I guess the question is, does it,
A month
before the
before
horse, does it come before the, standards of coverage? Is it part of the standards of coverage, or is it
Letter,
separate from the standards of coverage issue?
as far
Or
as,
does it become part of the standards of coverage issue?
I think it'd be separate, it'd be best if it's separate from it. You're talking about agendizing it.
Right, right. I mean, it's, cause it's one piece of that issue, so to speak. of the
Yeah.
Standards of
I
coverage.
think it depends on whether or not the standard of coverage is on the agenda for next month.
I think if you keep it separate, you can then at least discuss it. My concern is if we said it's part of the standards of cover, as Director Maynard said, whatever reason, if that standards of cover isn't there, then you can't have any discussion per se.
Well, I'm just saying I might say something about that letter that might, maybe we shouldn't say until after the standards of
Oh, I
coverage, because,
Um,
I mean,
We're too far.
yeah,
I think we agendize it.
okay,
Then I will not say anything right now.
even though we want to.
Right.
We want to.
Yeah, I think just keep it clean, that's what we do.
Okay.
I will say that's disappointing.
Director Mendoza?
I have nothing more other than I agree with my colleagues here.
I've said enough
For now.
for now. So with that, we have a motion to adjourn.
Sure, I'll second.
We're adjourned.
Director Nunziger,
Yes.
Director Mendoza,
Yes.
Director Maynard.
Yes. We should have just gotten a third.
Carried.